2 years ago, nobody outside Asia could even pronounce the name of this thing. Labubu. It all started with one photo in April 2024. Lisa from Blackpink clips a Labubu to her bag and posts it. Within a week, Pop Mart sales across Southeast Asia went up 30%. People queuing outside stores at 6 in the morning, one of them sold at auction for $170,000. Can you imagine? By the time Rihanna and Beckham showed up with one a year later, the fire was already burning across Asia. The West just noticed later, as usual. The company behind it, Pop Mart, reached $5.5 billion in revenue in a single year. On paper, one of the best businesses of the decade.
And everyone tells you that story the same way. Celebrities, hype, that's just the tip of the iceberg. A plush toy doesn't sell 100 million units of one celebrity photo. Something much bigger was built underneath that. It's the smartest piece of product design I've seen in years. In this video, I'll show you why Labubu actually worked and how, in a matter of months, it went from the most wanted object on the planet to a textbook example of a company killing its golden goose. My name is Bea, and you don't know me yet. I've been doing business in Asia for 20 years, and while Bertrand tracks where the money goes across Asia, I track why people open their wallets in the first place. If that sounds useful to you, hit subscribe. To understand the fall, you need to see how unlikely the rise was. Labubu didn't come out of a corporate design lab. It came out of a children's picture book. Cassie Leung, an illustrator born in Hong Kong and raised in the Netherlands, drew these little forest creatures back in 2015 from a story series called The Monsters. Pointy ears, 90s, a grin somewhere between adorable and slightly evil. For years, almost nobody cared. The company that changed that is Pop Mart. It was founded in Beijing in 2010 by Wang Ning and started out basically as a variety store. It was mostly phone cases, cosmetics, random gadgets, nothing really worth the hype we know. The business was going nowhere until he noticed that one shelf kept selling out: collectible figurines. So he dropped everything else and bet the company on toys. And he sold them in a very particular way: the blind box. You pay $10 to $30 for a sealed box. You don't know which figure is inside until you open it. Each series has a rare secret edition, 1 out of 72 chances to get one. Remember that detail because the entire story turns on it. In 2019, Leung licensed his monsters to Pop Mart. For 4 years, Labubu sat in the catalog as one character among many. It was doing fine, nothing special. But in October 2023, Pop Mart put Labubu on a plush keychain. 6 months later, Lisa posted a picture. The numbers after that point barely sound real. In 2024, the Labubu franchise pulled in around $430 million, up more than 700% in a year. In 2025, it reached $1.95 billion. One character generated 38% of everything the company sold. US sales multiplied by 12 in a single year. And at that peak, in the summer of 2025, Pop Mart was worth more on the stock market than Hasbro, Mattel and Sanrio combined. All three together, beaten by a plush monster on a keychain, made by a company most people in the West still couldn't name. So that's the ascension. The question is why it reached that scale. Celebrity posts create spikes, and spike usually fades in weeks. This one ran for 2 years and rebuilt an entire company around it. Something else was doing the heavy lifting. Get rid of the fur and the teeth and look at what Pop Mart actually built. It's a slot machine you can carry in your pocket. The blind box works on something psychologists call variable reward. You don't know what you're going to get, and that uncertainty is the product. It's the same mechanism behind slot machines, loot boxes in video games, and refreshing your Instagram feed. Your brain releases more dopamine anticipating an uncertain reward than receiving a guaranteed one. Casinos have known this for a century. Pop Mart wrapped it in plush and sold it to 25-year-old women. And the design goes deeper than that. Every series has around 12 regular figures, plus one secret edition with odds of roughly 1 in 72. So when you open a box and get the duplicate, you haven't lost. You're one box closer. At least that's what your brain tells you. People film themselves opening 10, 20, 50 boxes, chasing a secret. Those unboxing videos became free advertising watched by millions, and every video recruited new players into the same loop. And Pop Mart did something smart. They deliberately kept supply below demand. Stores had limited stock, online drops sold out in minutes, and that scarcity created a resale market where a $30 Labubu could trade at $300. Rare editions carried premiums of 2,000% over retail. It's nothing new. The same thing is happening with Pokemon cards and the sneakers. Now, Pop Mart made no money on those resales. Zero. But the resale market was doing something far more useful than generating revenue. It was making the product feel like an asset. When your friend tells you the toy she bought for $30 is now worth $300, a plush keychain stops being a purchase. It becomes a smart move. People were buying with the feeling they couldn't lose money, and you can measure how well the whole machine worked. By the end of 2025, Pop Mart has 72 million registered members in mainland China alone. Their repurchase rate was 55.7%. More than half of everyone who bought once came back for more. In retail, numbers like that are almost unheard of. This full architecture is genius. The uncertainty makes buying feel like a game. The secret edition turns one purchase into 10. The scarcity turns customers into hunters. The resale prices turn a toy into an investment. And the celebrities sit on top as a visible 5%, the part everyone writes articles about. That machine is why a picture book monster reached $2 billion a year. And that machine is also the reason everything collapsed, because the entire system rested on one fragile condition. And in 2025, Pop Mart broke it themselves. Every layer of the machine depended on the scarcity. The idea they would never be quite enough Labubus. And through 2025, that scarcity was creating chaos. Fights broke out in UK stores, bad enough that Pop Mart pulled Labubu plush from every British shelf and moved sales online. In California, robbers hit a warehouse and drove off with $30,000 of inventory. Real customers couldn't buy at retail anymore. Scalpers with bots got there first, and a $30 toy routinely cost $300 on the secondary market. Inside Pop Mart, this looked like a problem. Millions of people want your product and can't get it. Every business school on the planet teaches you the answer: make more. And I get why. At Statrys, we help entrepreneurs do business across Asia every day, and when demand explodes, the pressure to scale is enormous. Your factory says yes, your investors say faster, your competitors are circling. Saying no to money on the table is the hardest call in business. So they said yes. In early 2024, Pop Mart was producing around 300,000 plush toys a month. By late 2025, 30 million a month. They multiplied production by 100 in under 2 years, spun up factories in Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, and flooded every channel that had been starving. Their co-COO explained the logic with a comparison to concert tickets. Fans overpay scalpers because a stadium can add seats, but a factory can. So why let scalpers capture money that should go to fans? It sounds completely reasonable. For almost any product, it would have been right. If people are lining up for your sneakers or your ice cream, making more prints money. But nobody was paying $300 for a plush toy. They were paying $300 for a thing that was hard to get. The difficulty was the product. Pop Mart looked at the golden goose and decided to kill it. Resale prices fell by half on most models, and some editions dropped below retail. The moment a Labubu costs less secondhand than in the store, the asset story is dead. Nobody felt smart anymore. The scalpers dumped the inventory, which pushed prices down further and triggered more dumping. And without the resale premium, the whole loop ran backwards. No hunt because everything is in stock. No unboxing drama because a secret figure isn't worth anything. No new recruits because your friend now tells you that the toy she bought for $30 is worth $15. But as surprising as it may sound, sales were still growing while the foundation cracked. Revenue jumped 250% in the third quarter of 2025, even as resale prices collapsed. The machine was shipping to shelves faster than the desire was dying. From inside the company, the numbers said everything was fine, but the numbers were measuring the past. So here's what the present looks like in the middle of 2026. Search interest for Labubu is down 90% from its peak last August. The stock has lost more than half its value since the summer, $33 billion of market cap gone. In March, Pop Mart published the best results ever. Revenue up 185%. Profit up more than 300%, and the stock dropped 22% the same day. Record numbers. And yet, investors ran for the exit. Everyone could see the engine of those numbers was slowing. The counterfeits made it worse. Fakes, nicknamed La Foufou, flooded every marketplace, at one point counting for 40% of listing on some platforms. UK authorities seized £3.5 million worth, mainly failing basic safety tests. When your product's entire value is authenticity and status, an ocean of fakes is poison. And the analysts have adjusted. HSBC cut its growth forecast for Pop Mart this year and trimmed its earning estimate through 2027. On resale platforms, the Labubu that traded at $70 last June now goes for a fifth of that. Some editions sit below store price. To be clear, Pop Mart is not dying. $5.4 billion in revenue, $1.8 billion in profit. That's far from bad. This is just a very profitable company that lost its magic. The next earnings drop in August, and everyone will be reading them for one thing. What's left once the fever is gone? That's the crash. But zoom out from the stock chart, because the crash is not the most important thing that happened here. For 30 years, China had one job in the global economy: make things cheaper. The West designs, China manufactures, and the brand on the box is American or European. Labubu broke that deal. It is a Chinese company selling a Chinese-owned character at full price to consumers in New York and Paris who were fighting in store to get one. People bought it because they wanted it. Desire at scale exported from Beijing. Look at where the growth came from. In 2025, Pop Mart sales in the Americas multiplied by more than 8 in a single year, reaching about $940 million. Overseas markets went from a side business to 44% of total revenue. The company now runs 630 stores across 20 countries. Their flagship locations sit on Fifth Avenue and Oxford Street, the most expensive retail street on earth. Those are luxury brand addresses, and a Chinese toy company took them. The margins are insane. Pop Mart's gross margin in 2025 is 72%. For context, that's luxury territory. Louis Vuitton territory. Companies that compete on price live around 30 or 40%. You only get to 72% when customers pay for what the product means, not what it costs to make. A Labubu costs a few dollars to produce. The other 25 are pure brand. For decades, the question in boardrooms was when a Chinese consumer brand would crack the West. Everyone expected it to come from cars or electronics. It came from a monster with 9 teeth. Even governments took it seriously. When the British Prime Minister visited China in January 2026, Pop Mart's commitment to a London European headquarters and 7 new UK stores was announced as part of the trade discussions. A toy company sitting in the middle of trade diplomacy between two major economies. That tells you how much this stopped being about toys. I've watched Western brands spend fortune trying to manufacture this kind of demand. Decades of ad budgets, celebrity contracts, brand consultants. Pop Mart got there with a blind box and a resale market. It is proof that a Chinese company can engineer global desire. It makes the fall even more frustrating because nobody undercut them. They took the most valuable thing they had built, that one thing, and they killed it with a spreadsheet. Today, Pop Mart's answer is to copy Disney. Sony Pictures signed on for a Labubu movie with the director of Paddington attached. There's a theme park in Beijing being expanded. They launched a jewelry line where Labubu gold necklaces sell above $2,000. And they created a bunch of other characters, Molly, Crybaby, Twinkle Twinkle, each already doing hundreds of millions a year. The bait is that a character survives the hype cycle if you keep building worlds around it. It worked for Mickey Mouse, it's just that nobody has proven it works for a blind box monster. That's the test worth watching. Creating a global craze from Beijing was supposed to be impossible, and Pop Mart did it. Keeping one alive after you flooded the market, nobody has done that either. So I leave you with this question their own CEO now faces every morning. If desire is something you can manufacture, is it something you can repair? That's what this channel covers. What's really being built in Asia before it shows up on your side of the world. If that's useful to you, subscribe. If you bought one of these or sold one at the peak, tell me in the comments, we read them. See you, maybe, in the next video.